Welcome to the City Show. Today we are introducing Joe Gannascoli. Joe starred on The Sopranos for 6 seasons from 1999 through 2007. He played a very appreciated character, Vito Spadafori. And Joe, it's a pleasure to having you on the show today. Thank you for joining the City Show.
My pleasure, my man. Thank you for having me.
The honor is ours. So tell us a little bit about the character you played, Vito.
Well, as you know, and I'm sure your fans will know, your listeners, your watchers, your audience, know that I played a different character the first season, Gino, where I walk into a bakery trying to get some pastries and bread, and Christopher's having a hard time with the kid behind the counter. He's feel like he's being disrespected, and the kid takes me before Chris. He gets insulted, and I start ordering my pastries and bread, and he throws me out of the bakery. My famous line is, "What about my bread?" He goes, "Come back later," and he shoots the kid in the foot. So that was my little role as Gino in The Sopranos, and for some reason they brought me back as Vito, but I guess they spotted talent in those 3 lines that I had.
You know, Joe, that scene is one of the scenes, probably the top 5 scenes of The Sopranos that I remember best. And I love that movie. I love the TV series. I watched it religiously from when I was a kid back in the 90s. I mean, it's one of the greatest shows of all time. Some people say it's Seinfeld. I think it's The Sopranos. I think Sopranos kicks Seinfeld's ass.
Yeah, I mean, Seinfeld was great, and hard to compare, but Sopranos in the class of itself. I got, even if I'm biased. Um, so I'm just immensely proud to be part of, again, you're a Canadian. It's like being a part of those great Stanley Cup champions, part of that team. Like 27 Yankees, the Yankee team that won 5 championships in a row. The Islanders have won 4 cups in a row. I mean, I always put it to a sports analogy. You're part of history, and something was great that's very hard to duplicate. And trust me, a lot of shows try. It's not easy, and it's never done. It's one of those things that just everything came together. I mean, actors, who portrayed who and how it came about. It's just one of those things.
I mean, there are some certain shows that are impossible to duplicate, and it'll never happen again. It was a time in history where, you had the right confluence of actors, of, certainly screenwriters. It was a time in history also where you could say certain stuff that you can't say today. And so I'm sure you wouldn't be able to produce a show like The Sopranos today.
Yeah. Again, Fox TV turned it down, and certainly if it would have been wound up on Fox, it would have been a different show. It couldn't have said what they said, couldn't have shown what they shown. So it's just crazy how things work out, and I was able to go to cable.
What do you think it is about the American psyche that attracts Americans to mob movies and mob TV shows too?
Hmm. So I feel, in my opinion, since the beginning of film, that sort of glamorous lifestyle of a mobster, especially when it was hard times, coming out of the depression, maybe um, guys that fine suits, tuxedos back in those days in the 20s and 30s, nightclubs, girls, big cars, pinky rings, jewelry. That whole thing was something like little kids, were attracted to. and even probably men, even women, and one thing about those movies that they always ended up getting what they were going to get, either jail or, being killed. I think that was part of Hollywood's goal is to show, yeah, it's all great until it ends this way. But it's always been an attraction for, the public to sort of be part of that life, the outside looking in. And all through the ages, I mean, there's very few that are well done. The early 20s and 30s with Bogart and Edward G. Robinson and Cagney. And, then they not so much in the 40s, 50s, 60s until The Godfather, until, they made it right. They made it right. Wasn't so flashy, but it was that life. It was just the way it was done, the way it was brilliantly, scripted, dialogue, lighting was a big part of it. And that whole Shakespearean thing with, a king and three sons, So, yeah. And then, of course, between Coppola and Scorsese, they captured it perfectly, I think.
How about Marlon Brando's performance in The Godfather? Do you think he was the original on-screen gangster?
Um, I think he understood it. He got it. That's what, was so brilliant about him. The best thing I saw on TV, I'm not a big movie TV person. I hardly watch. It's either sports or politics. I don't watch anything else. But the best thing I did see in the last probably 10 years was the show The Offer, where they watched, where you saw them, I don't want to say reenactment. Everybody played, it was from Al Ruddy's point of view, and played by Miles Telner, who was fantastic. And then the guy who played Robert Evans in Francis Ford Coppola actually auditioned for it, Mario Puzo. Um, um, Brando, Pacino, just up and down. I think there was like Charles Bluedorn, who was the head of Paramount at the time. Uh, there's probably about 7, 8 actors that I don't think they got the recognition they should have. I loved it. There was only like 10 episodes, and I should really rewatch it again. It was that good. So, if you're a big Godfather fan, and there are, I recommend that highly.
I certainly am. So, London had a famous twin gangster group called the Cray Brothers,
Yeah.
and they made a movie about it called, all about their life. It was an incredible movie, and Reggie Cray made a statement when he was running his nightclub in London back in the '60s. He said, "There ain't much difference between mobsters and the elite. They're both selfish and they're both indulgent, and hence why they like to hang out in the same spots." And perhaps you can add in there politicians, to the duo, make it a trio.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
First of all, the Crays, I believe they were twins, weren't they?
They
Weren't
were
they?
twins.
Yeah, Reggie and Ronald Cray.
Reggie
Eh,
and Ron, correct?
Yeah, Reggie and Ronald. And one of them was gay. And they were both, I think, boxers. And it's been done a few times back in London. And they had nightclubs. And then Tom Hardy portrayed them both. And I love Tom Hardy. He's great, great, great actor. I like him. So, um, when you have a nightclub that's popular and there's women involved, I had restaurants that were always like jumping, the big bar scene. Girls came, mobsters always came. Guys, I should say mobsters, guys in the life, you know. Um, and we had I wouldn't say our fair share. I mean, if it was a known mob hangout. You won't see too many, politicians come out because now they're watched so, closely. But probably back in the day, they did. Or the elite, guys with money that like to flirt with like danger and say, I know this guy and I know that guy and so on, that makes them feel like, important. Um, I forgot what the question was.
My question was that why do you think in these movies, and certainly
Oh,
in 1960s London, that mobsters and the elite hung around the
yeah.
same nightclubs?
Yeah. So it had to do with definitely girls, definitely had to do with, people knowing those kind of nefarious people. And to say, he's a dangerous guy, but he's a friend of mine. And, I think that's was an attraction.
Tell us about your thoughts on the whole Epstein affair. Was it a hit?
Oh, um, I think the Epstein had a lot of dirt on people, and I think that someone got to him before he could talk. And with all the cameras available, I don't know how they pulled it off, but somebody got to him before he could talk. I now he knew a lot of politicians and a lot of big people and names. So um, that's all I really know about it. That's my opinion. Again, you know.
Of course. Tell us about JFK. What are your thoughts on JFK's assassination?
Well, that's been long. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think that there were definitely why he was taken out. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's because him and his brother, were going after the mob. But I think that they got probably helped him get elected, and um, they were getting too close to his brother was getting too close to them. So I think at the time, Carlos Marcello and the New Orleans, and they had something in handing it to them, doing it to them, helping them get it done. A lot of fucking fiddling going on there.
Sorry, don't worry. Post production, we're going to clean that up.
Uh,
Let's talk about Hollywood. You're not a part of Hollywood. You are a great actor. You were on a great show. You had a prolific role. And you said that there are a lot of douchebags in Hollywood, which I think probably a huge part of America would agree with that statement.
yeah. Uh, yeah. Like if I gave a fuck, it'd probably hurt me, but I really don't because I'm not part of Hollywood. There are certain guys that speak out, and you can't really touch them. Some fucking, they're tremendous actors. Guys that I grew up watching. Guys that are like phenomenal Oscar winners, and they can say what they want. Uh, but for the most part, I don't know. You know, they should want to see America be, the strongest, and I don't want to say the greatest. Make America great. I'm not going to say that. But they're all in favor of just letting in like these immigrants, but they don't want them in their neighborhood. You don't see them offering sleeping bags and tents in Beverly Hills. You don't see them in Martha's Vineyard. They got rid of them quick in Martha's Vineyard. So they all want to talk the talk, and then as long as I don't have to see them, as long as I have to deal with them, um, you know, and they don't have to take the subways to work and worry about crime and worry about their kids, going for a jog out of on a college campus, and you know, kids eating, experimenting with drugs and a grain of fentanyl getting in their system and killing them. None of them really have to do that, deal with that. I mean, there have been like, overdoses in Hollywood, of course, but for the most part, they don't have to worry about that. They all have, limo-driven kids and protected and elite schools and so on. So they don't have to worry about all that. And so that's why they're like, turn them loose, get them in, turn them out. And people that have no right being on the streets are, raping women, beating up women, throwing people in front of trains. I mean, it's like, they're animals and they continue. I always say it should only happen to a judge, a defender, someone who's defending, public defender. Happen to someone that they love, a wife, a grandmother, a mother, a daughter, a son, and to feel the pain that these people that feel that sorry, sorry, the pain that they feel when that happens, and what they're going through. And, and it was like, well, he just got locked up the other day. They turned him loose. He assaulted somebody. He raped somebody. He shot at somebody. And they're back on the street. And then they, kill them and see what that pain is like. So, yeah, that's what I don't like about the left. That, it's not their business that's burning. It's, someone's life savings going up in smoke. And so on. And they can tell me all they want, but that's all that stuff is wrong. I'm a law and order guy.
Listen, without law and order, you have nothing.
Hmm.
And I got to tell you a personal story. I was living in Union Square, towards the end of the pandemic, actually at the start of the pandemic. And I remember there was a store that was being burnt down on the corner of 13th and Broadway. And there were, 30, SWAT team foot soldiers, armed to the teeth, every gun you can imagine. And they could have easily gone in there and prevented that from happening. So I asked them, I said, is there a reason why you guys are not doing anything? And they said, we can't talk. We can't even answer you. And I said, were you told to stand down? And they just nodded. And so these were during the de Blasio years. Complete fucking joke. The guy should be ashamed of himself.
De
He's
Blasio?
got no he's got no integrity. He's got no respect for New York City to run that city through the ground the way he did during COVID.
Yeah.
Shame on him.
He's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit. Another thing that gets me about talking about Hollywood, that's pretty much run by Jews. Agents, studio heads, and how they allow the left for the Jewish students to be harassed and attacked is beyond me. That they don't stand up and defend them. Um, Unfortunately, in Palestine, there are innocent people, but they are so intimidated by the terrorists, by those filthy animals, that whatever money we sent them for food, whatever, all goes to like terrorism, and they have to live in fear of them, and they're just brought up to hate, and they can't do anything about it. So innocent, people. I mean, I know Palestinians. They live with them in Brooklyn, Bay Ridge. A lot of Arab. They're beautiful people. They're out from that tyranny and they're away from it. But now they can't. They're forced to like hate and they're forced to like live with it. And then they wound up, you know, having families torn apart by killing, bombs, and so on because that's where the terrorists were hiding, underground their homes, in their hospitals, in their schools. I mean, it's pathetic. It's so stupid. So, and they allow the Jews to be on campus attacked like it's like Germany, like Nazi Germany. It's like pathetic. So again, they're all full of shit. They're douchebags, and yeah. So There we are.
Well, I think they're just looking for chaos, regardless. There's good people everywhere, and there's bad people everywhere. But certainly, you're going to find, in the case of Palestinians and Israelis, you're going to find wonderful people on both sides, and you're going to find people around the world within their spheres that are great people. But I think there are agents of chaos that want people to hate each other, that want people to be fighting with each other, and extremism breeds extremism.
Hmm.
It's like a virus. You could be a non-extremist, and you can buy into extremist ideologies when something bad happens to you or something bad happens to someone you know, or just watching the TV. And so I think there is going to be a certain healing process with that conflict in the Middle East and also in America. Before we're going to see some evolution and moving on from that conflict. Political correctness versus traditional Italian American culture. What are your thoughts?
Political correctness and Italian American culture.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, listen, there's like plenty of lefty political correctness Italian professors out there, and authors and students and so on. They're not probably old school. They're not like Brooklyn, I don't think. Or they might be some Brooklyn. Listen, I played a gay character. I suggested it because I'm a live and let live kind of guy. And it didn't bother me. I don't have sort of any sort of I'm on the fence. Some guys can't do that because maybe they're on the fence. Which way should I go? I love women. I love women. And I've been like that since I was a kid. And I wasn't always a fat fuck. I was in shape, played a lot of ball, and being in the restaurant business, I met a lot of women. I had a lot of fun. So I just and that's probably left of like some old school Italians that they don't understand. I get, but to me, I looked at it as like acting. I wanted a challenge, and so what further thing could I have picked was someone that's gay that's it's into men. So it's a mix for me. You know what I mean? I like Law and Order, but also liberal in some ways. I'm not gonna deny that. Not like a fucking you know Trump flag on my lawn. That's not me. I'm not gonna wear it as a bumper sticker. Trump flag on my car. I go, give me a fucking break with that. But I like Law and Order. I like people that feel safe. I want to see people enjoy themselves. I don't want to see people abused and attacked. I don't care if they're Asian or Chinese, or I mean Asian or Jewish or blacks or anybody. Um, Nothing makes me more sick than someone that's picked on for the color of their skin or their religious. If they don't force it on you, you live and let live. So that's the kind of guy I
Amen,
am.
brother.
Yeah.
Listen,
I
I
mean, I
was in
could
law
hate
school for
fucking
years.
Canadians, but I don't.
Huh?
I could hate fucking Canadians.
No, you could hate Canadians. That's okay.
Well,
Canadians are, I think Canadians are used to being slapped around by their government anyways.
uh, well, we'll see. I mean, I don't know when this is going to air, but, we got a big game coming up, you know, in hockey. So that'll be interesting.
Hopefully you guys don't kick our ass too quick.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that. I think they got that out of their system. I think they'll be warned. But that was interesting to watch. Uh, yeah.
James Gandolfini, what
Yeah.
was it like working with him? You
Yeah.
mentioned you,
So,
you didn't have a whole lot of scenes with him, but you were blessed to work with him.
okay.
How would you describe him as a person? What
Yeah,
was he
I
like?
wasn't especially close to James. We didn't really hang out like offset or, after work or go out maybe once or twice, but he affected me in a few ways. One is he came to my restaurant when he was sick, and there was a line around the block. It was like a rainy night, and he wanted to meet the fans because a lot of the cast were coming like once a month to meet the fans. Also, when I suggested my role for the show, how it was portrayed wasn't what I had in mind. I was on the wrong end of that scene with the security guard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he grabbed me before we did the read through, and he says, "Look, if you're not comfortable with this, we'll go talk to David. You don't have to do it." Which I said, "Well, I kind of suggested it, so I'm going to go through with it. I just don't want to do it, and then we just forget about it." He came to my wedding, and he, um, said very nice things. So those three things always stand out in my mind. You know.
So, Joe, tell us about your restaurant.
Oh, I haven't had a restaurant in years. I was a
Where was
chef.
your restaurant?
I was in Bay Ridge. I do private parties now for Soprano fans. Sort of just mushroomed after doing a cooking for a friend. She posted pictures on Facebook. It was her husband's birthday, and he was a big fan, and his friends. And I made a few dishes, and it mushroomed into like a business. And I've done over 100 of them. Usually in the tri-state area. I don't do apartments. I don't do, you know, the boroughs, but I do a lot of Long Island, Connecticut, and it's great. I do all the shopping. I have an assistant. They pay for the food. They pay for the my assistant. I'm there about 10 hours. Make about 20 appetizers, a pasta course, and then the entree that they pick: lamb chops, filet mignon, sea bass, oreganata, or whatever else they want. And yeah, it's about 10 hours. It's unique. I do tell my story, which is interesting, and a Q&A, and take pictures of everyone, and it's a great time. It's not cheap. So I got a lot of inquiries, and then, it's out of their price range. All said and done, guy like you, like a lawyer, could probably afford it. But
Maybe
uh,
not. How
yeah.
much are we talking here?
Well, it starts at a buck 25 a person up to 190. And a minimum of 16 people up to 50. So, all
Are
said
we
and
talking
done,
a
you're looking
hundred or 1,000?
$125.
Okay, $125 a person. Got it.
Yeah, to about 190 a person. Different
Well,
menus.
that's a really special experience to have, former celebrated actor of The Sopranos cook for you in your house.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't a background guy. I didn't do like an episode or two. My food is phenomenal. I mean, there's a lot of reviews on Facebook written up. I take my food seriously. I make sure people want to talk while I'm cooking, in the kitchen. And I got to say, look, save your questions for later because, I'm concentrating now. I got a lot of different dishes going on. Me and my assistant are cooking. Sometimes it's two assistants, depending how big the party is. Yeah, but it's unique and better than getting somebody from the show and to sit with you in a restaurant for an hour and a half. It would cost you half. I mean, again, I usually get them out of the house. I open up the door. I go, "What the fuck you want here?" And they can't really process it. Like, I know this guy. What's he doing in my house? What's going on here? So it's fun. It's good.
Sounds like a special experience.
Yeah.
Joe, thank you very much for joining us as a guest today. Thanks for tuning in to the City Show. We drop an episode every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Spotify and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The City Show Official and at The City Show to stay up to date with our projects. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the heart of urban creativity and inspiration. Until next time, keep exploring your city. There's always more to discover. And Joe, you're one of a kind, man. To have a former star of The Sopranos be a guest on my show is probably one of the greatest honors you could have given me.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. You did a great job. I love being in it. And who knows? When you're in Lauderdale and I'm in Florida, maybe we'll run into each other when we'll hang.
I would love that. I would love to meet you.
All right, pal. We'll stay in
Look
touch.
forward to it, pal. Thank you.